कुछ तो देवी शक्ति है, कुछ बच्चे ही पैदा हो जाते हैं वैसे. I was not just excited watching it. I wanted to perform. I want to be that person. I feel more comfortable being on stage than sleeping. I feel we were giving unnecessary importance to ourselves. An art form like magic should not be taught. It should be learned the way I learned it. I very early on realized that आप किसी से भी सीख सकते हो.
Suhani Shah is a magician, a mentalist, a content creator, and many things. But more than anything else, she's someone who's deeply interested in how the mind works and how she actually channels it for everything that she does. We spoke about that and a lot more in today's episode. But before you go to that, I want to make sure you hit subscribe, smash that bell icon, going straight into my chat with Suhani. I've been thinking about what to start our conversation with ever since you and I spoke about doing this podcast. And I was like, what do you ask a mentalist as their first question? Is that how tough is it to read your own mind? Was my question to start with.
Oh wow. Don't start with such difficult things, Varun. You should be kinder. Also, if you say that you've been thinking about how to start this conversation from the time we first decided, that's been a lot of thinking.
It's been many months now.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, it is very important to be connected with ourselves. When you say, reading your own mind, and that's the toughest thing to do. Because I feel like I'm somebody who's always conflicted in myself. Because I'm somebody who wants to be at peace, at calm, and I want to be here. But I'm also somebody who wants to be everywhere. So this conflict of being in the here and now, and then also being everywhere, is something that I've been dealing with since as long as I can remember. So yeah, when you say how difficult it is to read your own mind, I'm like, let's warm up a bit and we'll get to that a bit later.
You just said something which I think is an interesting piece to get into, right? You said that you want to be here and now, but you also want to be everywhere. Because I think the perennial problem which all of us struggle with, especially I would say the last decade more than anything else, is FOMO, right? We all struggle with that sense of FOMO. I actually want to ask you, because you started your journey as mentalist, magician, everything else very early in life.
Yeah.
Were you like naturally someone who gravitated towards it, and how did that whole thing happen for you?
A lot of times when I hear about myself, I hear things like, oh, she was born with magic, and how बचपन से ही उसको आता था यार, कुछ तो देवी शक्ति है, कुछ बच्चे ही पैदा हो जाते हैं वैसे. And I'm like, it took me 10 months of proper rehearsals to do my first show. And I remember the time when I saw the first magic act on television, and I was like, like this little kid, the eyes have shown. Like, I'm just like, ye kaise hua? How every kid gets excited towards magic, I guess. Yeah. I think not kid, everybody gets excited, But I was not just excited watching it. I wanted to perform. I want to be that person who's like doing these magical things. But I was too small. I was 6. When I walked up to my father and I told him, Papa, mujhe jadoo karna hai. It's like, look, I come from a family that doesn't even watch television. So entertainment field se hamara dur tak koi naata nahi hai. And suddenly I go and say, I want to do magic. And you're like, what is this? I've got very encouraging parents. So it was not like, tu nahi kar sakti, ya abhi mat kar, aisa kuch. It was just like, dekhte. Because I'm also somebody who would go and say 10 things in the day.
True.
So he was like, how serious is Suhani about it, for my dad? And then I walked up to him again after, I think, few days. And then I walked up to him again after a few days. And I kept walking up to him till I didn't convince him that I'm serious about what I'm saying. And once he got convinced, like my job was only to convince my father. Because I know once my father's convinced, he'll do everything for it to make it happen for me. And that's what happened. When he got convinced that she can actually do what she's saying and she's really serious about the art form, then, of course, the search started to find somebody to teach. It's very difficult to find somebody to teach. Now you still have YouTube, internet, you have some courses out there. I'm talking about where the computers has just come to India. DOS pe kaam karte the, if you know the DOS bit. So, aaya hi tha. And so finding somebody was very difficult. In fact, we walked up to a few magicians who disagreed to teach, and we were very surprised. Now I understand it better. That time I was very discouraged as to why are they not teaching me. Now I understand it better, because an art form like magic should not be taught. It should be learned the way I learned it. and only then you deserve to be a magician, is what I feel. Like magic should come difficult because it's an art form that amazing and that mysterious. If everybody starts teaching it as loosely as, in fact, I feel now it's taught very loosely, like on the internet and the courses out there. And I feel that's not right. Like if they ask me to teach magic, I'll teach party tricks, I'll teach things that make you confident, but I'm not going to teach you. I don't plan to teach or put up a course about how do you read minds or mentalism or the major things that make magic what it is. So then they did not teach me, and then the struggle kept on happening. So interestingly, usually magicians train assistants. In my way, it was like the reverse. The assistants trained me.
Okay.
So we used to stay in Ahmedabad. Near Ahmedabad, there's this small village called Kalol. In Kalol, through some connections, research and all of that, we found this family where the man is the light technician.
Okay.
The light and the music guy, both. He was this one guy who does both.
हाँ.
Like एक हाथ उसका ऐसे इधर mixer पे होगा और दूसरा हाथ उसके switches पे होगा. The lady was the lead assistant in a magic show. And there were two sisters to the lady who used to be the other assistant, the other two assistants. And then the kids would do something in the show. And then their entire family, like uska bhai, हाँ वो पर्दे लगाने में मदद करता है, दूसरे लोग ऐसे, मतलब पूरा एक टीम था,
पूरा crew है.
Full crew, one family which is actually a crew. Okay, and my parents met them and convinced them to teach me magic. And again, it was not that easy. You know, they also saw कि कौन है, कैसे, why she wants to learn, and they understood our story, and then they agreed. And when they agreed, from that time, it took 10 months. Because it wasn't easy as we thought it would be. कि magic ही तो करना है. No, it was too difficult.
3-4 card tricks सिखा दो, फिर हो गया.
So here's another bit. I never wanted to do card tricks. First of all, my father told me कि school और party में नहीं करना है तो stage show कर. Like he was like, don't waste your time. If you want to do it well, otherwise don't do it. But he had this mentality for everything. So it was very clear in our mind, we're doing stage shows. We're not doing anything else. Even when I was taught card tricks initially, I don't want to do them. Or more than card tricks, it was these close-up tricks. You disappear a coin, make it appear from somewhere else. Things like that. I think I never liked them because, first of all, my hands were too tiny. They're still very tiny, but then they were even tinier. So I think my hands were very tiny. Second, I'm this Gujju Madhu in my head. I think, or maybe I'm just thinking, making it up right now, later on as I've grown up. When a close-up artist, you work on an effect for 3 months. And that effect lasts for 3 seconds. Like if I want to make a coin disappear, I practice 3 months to master it, that it looks like that it's disappeared. And when I perform it, it's done in 3 seconds. I'm like, वो बोलते ना, investment and return.
Yeah. The investment for the return, yeah.
Yeah. Whereas in illusions, you work on showmanship. You work on lights. You work on where I'm going to stand and where are these people going to walk up to. And, how is the... I do this gesture and something flies in the air. So the hard work was very different kind of hard work. And I liked this more. I liked the drama around it more. So, and I understood different forms, different genres of magic very early on in my life. So I realized that I want to be an illusionist. My heart is being an illusion. And I always wanted to be an illusionist. Illusionist is the one who goes on stage, does larger than life acts. So that's how it began. And that's how these people taught me only those things that I was good at. But then I realized that in the process of making a 3-hour show, I will need to learn a lot more. So anything that my show demand, I would do that. And I did not know how to read and write. So somebody would speak the dialogues and I would just listen and remember them. Vapas bol, bhul gayi, vapas bol. Then we used to record them on cassettes. And usko fir main walkie pe sunti rehti thi to remember dialogues. That's how I learned. Yeah, after 10 months, I did my first show. It was on the 22nd of October, 1997, 25 years ago. And yeah, that's just history. Then it was everywhere. But what I really like about the journey is I very early on realized that आप किसी से भी सीख सकते हो. लिटरली किसी से भी. वो जितने भी लोग मुझे सिखा रहे थे, मैं स्कूल नहीं गई फर्स्ट के बाद, वो सब लोग मुझसे ज़्यादा, मतलब कोई चौथी तक गया था, कोई 10वीं तक गया था, तो मैं किसी से मैथ सीख लेती थी कभी कभी, कोई मुझे कुछ आके समझा देता था. लाइक द पर्सन हु पुल्ड कर्टन्स इन माई शो इज वन हु टॉट मी मैथ्स. सो इट यूज्ड टू बी अ वेरी इनक्रेडिबल वे ऑफ लर्निंग इन चाइल्डहुड फॉर मी.
There's such an interesting insight in what you said, right? Because we're always told, if you want to learn something, learn from the biggest name in that space, or learn from the person most prominent in that space. But it's often the assistant, often the person who's worked with them through that, who actually knows so much and can teach you so much more. Like when you were saying, I was thinking back on like when I started off in production and in television, I learned so much more from the second sound assistant or the editor ka assistant or the guy who'd handle the tapes there and how to do
Yeah.
that. Then I might have learned from the most senior person there. And so, and that's also, I believe that's also, we have to treat them a certain way because you can learn so much from them. And the second thing which I thought was such a great insight is that you were clear about saying, I don't want to do everything. This is an area of interest. Let me go deep into that and learn it. Is that how you generally are about things? Okay, this is something which I'm deeply interested in. Let me go deep and get deeper knowledge in this than to just say कि सब कुछ सीखना है, सब कुछ करना है.
I think I am like that now that I'm thinking of it. I know what I want to do and I know what I don't want to do. So even when I started content, I knew what I wanted to do and I know what I don't want to do. I know what I cannot do. And I know what I can hone and make it happen. When I say cannot do, I think that's a wrong statement because I feel any person who's या तो आपको करना नहीं है या तो आपको आता नहीं है.
Correct.
इच्छा होगी तो कर लोगे, कोई सिखाएगा तो सीख जाओगे. So it's not the statement I cannot do is I'm not like in any way disabled to not be able to do something. Fortunately, but I think it's just that I'm very clear about कि कहाँ मैं excel कर पाऊंगी. कहाँ मेरा नीश क्या है, मेरा यूएसपी मैं कहाँ दिखा पाऊंगी. आई थिंक आई एम नॉट क्लियर अबाउट इट इन द स्टार्ट बट व्हेन आई गेट इनटू इट तब मैं बहुत जल्दी ऑब्जर्व कर लेती हूँ. जैसे मैजिक में जब मैंने टीवी पे देखा था तब मुझे नहीं पता था, ठीक है, बट पहले मैंने सब कुछ एक्सप्लोर कर दिया. सच में क्लोजअप होता है, पार्लर मैजिक होता है, स्टेज इल्यूजन होता है, मेंटलिज्म होता है, स्केपोलॉजी होता है, पिक पॉकेटिंग होता है, मतलब ये सब जॉनर्स है मैजिक के. तो ये सब जब मैंने जॉनर्स देखे कुछ ट्राई कर लिया, ये करना है मुझे. सो आई फील इट्स लाइक अ शादी का बुफे, यू नो, आप सब कुछ देखते हो. फर्स्ट यू गो एंड सी एवरीथिंग एंड लाइक ये खाना है, यू नो, यू डोंट ईट एवरीथिंग, देन यू मेस अप. एंड आई थिंक इट शुड नॉट बी लाइक दैट, बट इट्स इंपॉर्टेंट टू ऑब्जर्व एवरीथिंग because it's a very interesting thing I got reminded of right now. I was giving a lecture in this college and then there was this Q&A and a girl raised up her hand and she's like, how do you find your passion? Ma'am, I'm struggling to find my passion in my life. Like, you know, you are doing magic for so many years and you're clear about it. I am struggling to find my passion. How do I find it? And I asked her, how many things have you tried so far? And she's like, no, right now I'm studying and I'm finding my passion so that I could follow that. But I'm like, correct. But how many things have you tried?
Yeah.
And I don't think she understood it then. And then I had to elaborate. It's like only when you try like 20 things, you get to know about yourself as to what you like, what you dislike, what your strengths are, where you can work on, where you don't want to work on, where you feel like, nahi yaar, ye to boring hai, main nahi kar paungi.
Correct.
Everything. You know yourself better, you know what you can do better, you feel like कहाँ मुझे grow करने में मज़ा आ रहा है, कि मुझे ये आता नहीं है पर ये मुझे पसंद है तो मैं इसमें ग्रो कर जाऊंगी. यू नो, आई वांट टू लर्न दिस. कहाँ लग रहा है ये मुझे नहीं आता पर मुझे ये सीखना भी नहीं है. यू नो सो मच बट व्हाट इफ यू डोंट ट्राई? So I just told her, don't find your passion. Try 20 things first, you know, and then figure it out. And that's why I say even as kids should be taught like a lot of things. They should be taught dancing and music and whatever they like. And then they'll very soon then identify what they like more than the other. And then even if the things that they invested their time in, they don't pursue as a career, is fine because it has helped you learn something or the other which is going to be useful to you. So I think that happened with me and that happens with me all the time. I try to do a lot of things and then I figure out which one I like. But specifically, like in magic, I figured out what all is there. When I had to, I used to give a lot of talks and lectures and I had my clinic in Goa. And I knew what I wanted to do there. Like I saw different things. I was like, मुझे ये करना है. When I started streaming, there was like so much of content out there, and I'm like, there's beauty content, there's finance content, there's education content, there's lifestyle content, there's gaming content. I'm like, what am I going to do? And I saw everything and I tried everything. If you go and see my earlier streams, I have done conversations with people. I've done like interviewing things with people. I've played games. I've performed magic. I've done everything. And now I know what I want to do, what I don't want to do. I also know what works, what doesn't work. So I always feel try everything till you figure out that one thing.
When you said as kids, right, is that they're always told, no, bade ho kya banna hai? So always starts with that, no?
Yeah.
Versus if the question was, what all have you actually tried?
Yeah.
That would be so much nicer. Because if you ask a kid, what all have you tried? What all have you found interesting? You'll find 50 things. I often face that with my daughter. With every day, she has some 5 new things she has found which she's excited by. She always wants a new activity to do. And if you actually focus on that rather than saying, find your purpose from day one, वो तो होगा ही नहीं.
Yeah.
And then you have that pressure to pick a lane very early on.
It's not possible, right? I mean, finding purpose is a huge thing.
Yeah.
You might be finding your purpose when you're 50 also. You never know. So asking that when the kid is 5,
पूछ लेते हैं ना.
I mean, there's a problem with the person asking.
One more thing that comes from your answer right now is that there's also a genuine confidence you get when you try a lot of things. Because when you don't know something, you've not even tried it, you're always worried about, oh my God, what happens if I do this? Or what if I'm bad at this? But if you tried everything, which you can see, you then say, I know the level at which I'm at, or if my interest level is at this much. So you don't feel that sense of worry towards it. Would you say that's one of the pieces that's really helped you be more confident in life?
100%. But that's, I think, with everybody. The more you know, the better you can speak. And the better you can speak is your confidence, right? If I can interact with you better, and if I know I can interact with you, I have the confidence to come here and talk to you. But if I feel, अरे यार मैं उनसे क्या बात करूँगी, मुझे तो कुछ आता ही नहीं है, then anyway I'll not have the confidence, you know. So knowledge helps. How you gain knowledge is separate. I mean, my mom used to always say कि जिसको सीखना है वो कहीं से भी सीख लेगा. From the most learned man or from your assistant and second assistants. और जिसको नहीं सीखना ना, अगर आप उसको दुनिया की सबसे अच्छी स्कूल में डाल दो, वो फेल हो जाएगा. तो learning is a interest. It's not about, medium can be anything. So, and I think for me, I got a lot more time. मैं स्कूल नहीं गई तो मेरे को टाइम बहुत ज़्यादा था. मैं रात को शो करती, मैं दिन भर फ्री थी. तो मैं क्या करूँ, मैं सीखती रहती कुछ ना कुछ. मैं ऐसा भी नहीं था कि मुझे सीखना है और I'm this person who wants to. No, it wasn't even like that. I mean, you were a kid. You see things around you and you observe. And I was in a different city every month. I was meeting new people every other day. After my show, people are walking up to me and telling me कि आप जादू से बता सकते हो शहर में चोरी किसने करी है. I'm like, you're adults. You know? तो मेरे को ऐसे बहुत interesting experiences early on हुए. तो मेरे को बहुत मज़ा आता था ऐसे चीज़ें देखने में, समझने में, सीखने में. And that helped me frame the person I am. So yes, I feel having that knowledge helps you become more confident. But when you said that, do you think these things help you become more confident? I don't know how confident I am though. I'm confident in certain things. Like if you tell me that I have to talk to you, I'm good with this one-on-one conversation. I feel comfortable talking to you. If you go put me on stage, that's the most comfortable. Nothing is more. Like I feel more comfortable being on stage than sleeping. Because I've done that all my life almost. It's comfortable. But put me in a party, I don't know how comfortable I'm going to be there. I'm working on it. I'm much better than how I have been. But because I've never been to parties in my life, I've never been into social gatherings. So when it started in my life, which was I was 26, 27, I was socially very awkward. I didn't know what to talk. How do you introduce? You don't I don't know. It took me time to adjust, and I did have those self-doubt moments कि यार मेरे को तो बात ही नहीं करनी आती. After doing more than 4,000, that time it was more than 4,500 shows in my life. मैं यहाँ पे पार्टी में खड़ी होकर सोच रही हूँ यार मुझे तो बात करनी नहीं आती. ये कैसे करते हैं बात? तो I think declaring anybody to be यार ये बहुत confident बंदी है, यार ये बिल्कुल confident बंदा नहीं है. It's a very generic statement. You know, confidence आ सकता है कुछ चीज़ों में नहीं हो सकता, and that's where you work on. Like I know where I'm confident, and I'll be very good there, and I'll work on my strengths even more. But somewhere behind, I know कि मेरी weaknesses क्या है, and it's very important to know that. I believe there is a very, very fine line between being overconfident and confident, and you should never cross that. So showing my strengths to the world is my confidence. Believing that I don't have any weakness is my overconfidence. You know, so I think that is very useful for me. And I yeah, so I'm confident in certain areas, and there are certain areas where I'm working on. Like parties and social gatherings and at places which is not of my expertise. You know, how do you behave at places where you're talking about aeronautical engineering? What am I supposed to do there? But I'm there. So how will I behave? How will I learn? How will I talk to people in a place where I am not the, you know, the center of attraction? So I'm learning those things in my life, and it'll happen slowly.
I actually want to know if how that transition has been. Is that from the point when you realize that, okay, this is where self-doubt's really coming in. I think social gatherings, something which you all get awkward about in different, I think, levels. Everyone assumes that, again, the same, right? Are you introvert, extrovert? Are you confident, not confident? We're all on that spectrum of some sense. And like for me, if I'm a group of friends which are people I've known for years, I'm very comfortable.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I have to think, okay, what is, I try to not go in with an agenda, but an agenda always bothers me. How have you worked to overcome that? Because I'm gathering social gatherings now are a lot more something things you have to do now.
Yeah.
How have you worked towards kind of minimizing that?
I'll be honest, and as I just said, I'm still working on. I'm not an expert there. I mean, but I'm somebody who always sees tangible growth. कि मुझे वो दिखना चाहिए कि पहले मैं ऐसी थी तो अब मैं ऐसी हूँ, अब लाइक मुझे वो ग्रोथ दिखना बहुत ज़रूरी है. नहीं तो मेरे को बहुत ऐसा होता है कि अरे लाइक इफ़ आई वांट टू गो ऑन द 10th फ्लोर, मुझे अभी पता होना चाहिए कि मैं सेकंड फ्लोर पे हूँ. नहीं तो मैं बस चलती जाऊँगी तो बहुत अनअवेयर लगता है मुझे. सो आई कैन टेल यू द ग्रोथ बिट. आई नो वे बिफोर when people used to would call me for a gathering, I'll first call up somebody who I know in that party. Tell the person कि तू नीचे आ, तू मुझे पिक अप कर, मैं तेरे साथ एंटर करूँगी. Because I can't go in there and be like I can't be this person where मेरे को अभी nervousness हो रही है, मेरे पेट में anxiety. I don't want that. So I want to first find that familiarity, then enter an unknown place. Today I'm better. Today I won't call anybody out and come and pick me downstairs. I'm okay walking into that door and being like, कौन है बताओ यहाँ पर? You know? So कोई नहीं है? कोई बात नहीं, ढूंढते हैं. You know? कोई बात नहीं, कोई नहीं मिला? खाना खाए. किस लिए आए यहाँ पे? कोई पार्टी? Like, you know, now I'm more confident walking into that door, like being okay in my own self, being more secured about myself. So that's the growth I have seen. How has it happened? It happened like, I think how everybody wants to grow happens. I have had my bits of ऐसा नहीं बोलना चाहिए था, ये नहीं करना चाहिए था, तो बराबर टाइम पे नीचे क्यों नहीं आया, you know, अरे यार I went in. I've had those moments of self-doubt and anxiety, but then you don't stop. करते रहो, करते रहो, करते रहो, करते रहो, सीखते रहो, सीखते रहो, सीखते रहो, सीखते रहो. Like the more you do and the more you learn, the better you get. I think it's just that. It's not about कि तुम सिर्फ learn करते रहो but तुम करो मत. Like I'm reading a book about how to enter a party well, how to be the life of the party, but I'm not entering a party.
Yeah.
It doesn't work like that, right? So I have to do the things that I'm afraid of, and then learn also. And when these two things keep going on, you automatically learn. That's how humans are. We are made to learn.
Do you feel that, and I know you've spoken about this in the past, right? Is that you said when you're on stage, your center of attention, that's one of the most comfortable, confident spaces for you because you're so used to that. You're on stage, so many people there.
Yeah.
And you've spoken in the past about how when you've gotten off stage, that's almost a period of like you going from that high to almost a sense of loneliness. I want to talk a little deeper into that, saying, well, visually, I'm just thinking of the fact that you're just going from a crowd and I can visualize it in front of me, and then you're moving towards this. How is that? Is that something which you have worked to kind of move ahead from, move forward with? How has that journey been?
I think that's what I've worked on the most, because that was an everyday story. So जो चीज़ आपको रोज बॉदर करती है, आप उसको पहले सॉल्व करते हो. So yeah, so you know the bit, you know how you are like on stage and talia, validation. For me, it started when I'm 7. You know, at the age of 7, when I did a first show, 1,000 people in front of me, chief ministers, media पर. So मेरे को तो वही पता है कि यार तुम तो मतलब as much as I know of myself, I should be on stage and I should be performing. But then suddenly I go off stage and I'm like, where are the people? Nobody is appreciating me. मुझे self doubt आ रहा है कि तो show भी अच्छा हुआ कि नहीं हुआ. You know, like all those things come in. Multiple things have been tried to work on this, to find the balance between the two. The one problem solving statement I found was that I should be the same in pleasure and pain. If I'm able to be there, then it's quite a solution. Now, it's not, I'm not going to become a monk. Because I want to be in the world. I want to feel. I'm somebody, I don't believe in giving up everything. As humans, I think we get the ability to feel the most. The species feels the most. And that's like doing injustice to the human I am. I want to feel happy. I want to feel sad. I want to feel jealous. I want to feel angry. I want to feel frustrated. But I want my emotions to be a part of a solution, not part of a problem. So I don't want to be the same in pleasure and pain, but I want to be, that's what solving problem, like as solving solution. So solving statements. How do I reach closer to that is my thing. And now my solutions were always around how do I reach closer to that statement. So many things were tried. Mindfulness helped me a lot. So I tried meditations, I tried writing, journaling. All of these things were very interesting. But I also have a consistency issue in life in general, which, hello.
Everybody has.
Yes.
If anybody tells me I meditate every day or a journal every day, I'm like, jhoote.
Chal, haan, zyada mat bol. So people who think that you can't journal, we are with you.
Yeah.
Same team, buddy. Hello. So, but then what helped me a lot was mindfulness. So if mindfulness is a very interesting concept that if you practice for 1 month, then it becomes a part of you. Then you're mindful of eating, you're mindful of walking, you're mindful of it becomes like a part of you. You don't have to, it's an effortless thing. That helped. Simplifying it further, because it's such a long journey of identifying. मतलब मुझे तो बहुत साल लगे होंगे ना. अगर मैं उसको simplify कर दूँ, simplify or tangible, it will be solitude. And when I say solitude, I don't mean the sadness of being alone. I talk about the glory of being alone. You know, I'm not talking about loneliness. I'm talking about solitude. You know, so there's solitude, there's attitude, and then there's gratitude. I think these 3 things changed my life. And by this time in the podcast, I think you would have figured out I'm somebody who always wants things to be tangible. That's a solitude बोल दिया. Practice कैसे करूँ? ऐसे थोड़ी होता है. तो I'll make it like practical. So my first thing was solitude. And I was like, how can I, theories around it can take another podcast. How can solitude help you and how it is important. I think we can have another podcast on literally each one of them. Yeah. But if I'm again putting it in very small segments. So for solitude, I realized how can I practice solitude would be being in silences. So it has reduced from the time I've moved to Bombay. But when I was staying in Goa or wherever I used to travel, I used to be in silence every Sunday. Like I used to be off. I'm not going to talk. I used to take 10 days of silence, like Maun Vrat. 10 days I'm not talking. Every 3 months, at least 10 days, not talking. Zero communication with the world outside of me. So it means no talking to people, not even reading books, not even listening to music, because that's all other people's thoughts. It was more about me. It was writing, thinking, walking, meditating, just doing dancing, you know, like just anything, but anything with me. So I used to practice. So initial practices of silence was so difficult, you know. नहीं मुझे बोलना है. अगर कोई 2 जन बात कर रहे हैं, you know how kids have this where if their parents are talking, they're like, अरे आप समझ नहीं रहे हो जो मम्मी बोल रही है यार. And you want to intervene. And then I realized my first day of silence, I was looking at them and I was like,
you can't say anything.
I walked into my room because I didn't want to. And I came out in the evening. And I saw they are sorted, वो चाय पी रहे हैं. I feel we were giving unnecessary importance to ourselves. हमको लगता है हमारे बिना दुनिया नहीं चलेगी. ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं है. दुनिया चलती है. And अपने आप से connect होना ज़्यादा ज़रूरी है. So my first thing was solitude.
Have you tried Vipassana?
I have tried.
Yeah.
try मैंने mostly सब किया होगा.
Considering you try, I was like, I had to ask you this because it's
So I
something
was a
which.
lot into spirituality, and I used to run this entire clinic for 9 years on
Yeah.
mental health, and I was a clinical hypnotherapist. So I've done all of this. I'm not a big fan of Vipassana though. I feel it's torture to yourself. I want to do things more peacefully rather than a little bit of torture.
So
Like
I've had
those,
friends who've done it. I've had so my mother's done it. Friends who've done it. Actually, I have a couple of friends who are going to go for a couple of sessions. And they
Yeah.
always say that you, of all people who likes to yap all day long, should do it. And I'm like, I don't know if I'd want to put myself through that.
I mean, you could take it for an experience of it. So like, you might like it. At least for some, it's everybody is different. So मैंने कहा जैसे meditations होते हैं, योगिक क्रियाज होते हैं, mindfulness होता है, vipassana होता है. They're different things, right? What works for me, mindfulness works. Yogic kriyas work for me. I really like doing them. I still do them every morning. So some things work for some people. So for me, that works. And for me, silences work. Solitude. It works for me. Like whenever I want to take a break, I'm going in 2 days of silence. It's become very difficult from the time I've come to Bombay. The need to speak has become so much. So but then there was pandemic, and then there was this last year, which was, everything's opened up and you want to now talk and express. But this year I feel 2023 is the year of alignment. I feel it's for everybody, but I feel it's more for me because there's so much happened that this needs to just sit and align things.
Because you swung the other way.
Yeah, बस सब बैठा एक चीज like there's a room which is वो जमा हुआ नहीं है, वो बहुत बिखरा हुआ रूम है. 2023 इसके वो रूम अब जमाना है आज, क्योंकि उसमें पुरानी चीजें पड़ी है. फिर पैंडेमिक में ना वो बचपन की चीजें भी बाहर निकल गई थी, ठीक है. फिर न्यू चीजें बहुत हुई है और बहुत इम्बैलेंस हो गया है पैंडेमिक में, रिलेशनशिप्स का, लोगों का, बातों का, कम्युनिटी, सब चीज़ों का. फिर सडनली लॉकडाउन ओपन अप हो गया तो बहुत केओटिक हो गया सब कुछ, क्योंकि अब सबको बहुत कुछ करना है, क्योंकि एक्सप्रेशन जो इतना सप्रेस हो गया था 2 साल से, वो अब होने वाला है. हो गया, वो लोग थक गए, पार्टी कर लिए, सब थक गए. दिस ईयर आई थिंक अब बैठ के सब रूम जमाओ अपने, चाहे चाइल्डहुड चीज़ें पड़ी थी वापस वहाँ डाल दो, जितना नया चीज़ें आए उसके लिए जगह बनाओ, जितनी पुरानी चीज़, लाइक आई थिंक इज द ईयर ऑफ अलाइनमेंट. So sorry. So solitude was one thing. Then there was attitude. For attitude, I believe the tangible thing I brought in is no complaint days. So you should go in like 1 week, I'm not going to complain about anything. But I don't tell this to people. Then my brother takes advantage of it. But I'll just decide like this 3rd week of February, let's say, we are going to be on a no complaint week. So which means अगर मेरे खाने में नमक कम आया, I'll be okay and I'll just eat. अगर कुछ काम नहीं हो रहा है, I'll not complain, I'll try to just get it done. किसी ने कुछ बराबर नहीं रखा है, उसको तूने बराबर क्यों, I'll just go and do it. It's just changing my attitude towards things around me. So no complaint days works brilliant for me. And for gratitude is all about saying more thank yous. So I found like one activity that I can do for solitude, attitude and gratitude. Because I say the more I say thank you, of course, the other person feels great. But every time I say a thank you, you only say thank you when you get something. That's how the brain is wired. I say thank you when I get something. So the more I'm saying thank yous means I'm getting more things in my life. It's abundance. अरे मैंने आज में 5 बार थैंक यू बोला, मतलब मेरे ब्रेन को खुशी हो रही है, क्योंकि जब मिलती है तो when you get something you feel happy. Free gifts, ऐसा सबको अच्छा लगता है. So every time I say a thank you, it's of course for the other person also, but it's also for my brain to know, oh, you're getting so many things in your life, you're so grateful about it. So I found like one practices that I can do for everything, and it's been a game changer for me. It's been like a lot of my problems have been sorted.
I think it's fascinating, the 3 things you gave, because I think they're so actionable. Because you're not, oftentimes when you talk to someone about how do you kind of overcome something, it's always about, it's talking about the experience they've had. I think what's beautiful about what you said is that you've given in each case things you can actually do, which anybody can actually do in their day, which can make them really push towards it. Like the silence one is, I mean, for me, I'm still stuck on the silence one. And even the thank you one, I feel that oftentimes we don't say thank you enough. We tell kids that you should say thank you when someone does something. But at some point, once we hit a certain age, when someone's not telling you all the time to say thank you, you stop saying thank you. If you notice it, every kid.
Especially in families. We hardly say thank you to our kids or to our parents or to our siblings.
Yeah.
और वो I think even Bollywood movies wired us differently, right? Hey, dosti mein no sorry, no thank you. I'm like, bullshit. You should be saying more sorries and thank yous in
Yes,
life than
all the
anything
time.
else. I mean, these are the best magical words.
Yeah.
I come from this very typical Marwadi family. So when I was growing up, uh, it was very awkward, you know. But I started saying thank. I remember I told thank you to my mother, and it was such an awkward moment. And but now I think it was it was weird in the start for them. But now everybody's like that. Today in our WhatsApp groups, we say thank yous to each other. We say sorries to each other. You know, and it's a game changer. These words are magical and थोड़ा difficult होता है family में लाना, especially जो हमारी conservative families है. Now I feel like it will be easier for you to bring it in your child and you know how you guys communicate. But with we our parents, it could be a difficult job. But then I think कहीं तो शुरुआत करनी पड़ेगी ना, and I think that's important.
I think it even goes for just a hug or to tell someone in your family that you love them. I have a grandmom who just turned 90. And I know that she has only, I think we would all say it to her. We would say it to her over the last, I think, about 10, 15 years, always made a practice to keep telling her that, no, say bye, say I love you, and say bye. And she started to say this. And I'm like, think of someone who's in their 80s who starts to say this as a common practice, not because she didn't, it was not a thing which she would ever do, but because she saw everybody saying it to her, all grandchildren are saying it to her, and now obviously now great grandchildren are saying it to her. And she's like, I should say it too. Same goes for hugging. She would be a very awkward hugger, but now she's a hugger. And I'm like, that transition I have seen again over the last 5-6 years. So even if it's one person doing it, I think it just kind of spreads. Like, you know, it's the right kind of thing to spread across family and the people you're around. Is to saying, okay, you got to be the first person to maybe start it.
Yeah. I mean, if you believe in something, just do it.
Yeah.
You know, wherever you are. It could be family, college. Like, I also feel a lot of our families, our parents don't hug in front of kids. You know, they say, "Arey, bachcho ke samne nahi." You know, I'm like, you're hugging. And if you don't do this in front of your kids are, how are they going to feel that my parents love each other and then they love me? And then they become awkward, hugging them, hugging, you know, their partners eventually. I think expression of love is quite suppressed in our country in general.
Yeah.
I don't know, must be many other places, but I just talk about my country.
No, it is. And I think it goes for everything, right? If you have an argument, have it. Don't show it in front of everyone. So me and my wife made a conscious call, me and Pooja, that we would not shield our kids from an argument their parents might be having.
Oh, wow.
If we're having an argument, we'll have it in front of her. And we were like, your parents love each other. They can also argue. And it's fine. So initially, first couple of times I saw her, like, as she had, I think when she was like 4 years old, whatever, she realized conversations were arguments. And she would get awkward. And we would turn around saying, no, it's fine for people to argue, right? The problem, I think, the only bad for me is that now she knows that she can have an argument in front of everybody. And so we've had to also kind of train her to say, okay, some things are arguments, some things are just not.
Yeah. But that's a very interesting thought, you know, because would that also change the quality of your argument considering your kids are listening? So your language will be, you know, what you would do in a room.
Or a therapy session.
You know, but in the room, you know, there's nobody else watching this. So you even though you want to put your point out there, you could be aggressive. You could be louder in your tonality. You could be using words which are not wise enough to use. And the entire conversation can happen avoiding these three things. But when your child is sitting around, you can still have the same conversation, but in a much better, in a kind of way.
You're more mindful. Like I'm taking the word which you said. You're mindful because there's someone else there, and then you putting an impression on her.
Has that changed your way of arguing?
Oh, it definitely has.
Have you guys become kinder? What has been the change?
So our standing joke is that our arguments sound like therapy. So when both of us are having an argument, it's like I hear what you're saying, but I just want to, like, you know, it's almost like, you know, it sounds like we are both in therapy.
I'm so sorry. Oh God, I feel bad for you guys. It's like argument bhi nahi kar sakte hum.
No, but it's become that way. But I think the fun part though is that because, you know, and sometimes even if nobody else is there, we've started to talk like that now to each other. But I feel the interesting part has been that we've learned to listen better because we are mindful of any argument that happens.
But wow, this is quite a thing. Suddenly how about a practice like whenever we are arguing with somebody, or trying to prove a point, it might not always be an argument. Imagine that somebody is looking at us. Imagine somebody we care about is looking at us,
Yeah.
like a mother or a child or a best friend. Would we still talk the way we do?
Yeah.
It can be a game changer.
100%, right? Because you don't necessarily always have to react to things, right? The problem with most arguments is they're all reactions. Like you're reacting with that immediate emotion that you're feeling. And if you kind of just hold back for a second, if you kind of pause for a second and you're just assessing, okay, how should I really respond to this? You're not reacting, you're responding to it. You are a lot kinder. You're also like, you're looking at all the data. You look, okay, this is what's happened. You're not just like, you said something to make me angry, so I will, lash back. And it's just like going slow with that is, I think, the most underrated thing. Because you always feel like, abhi karna hai, we need to say this now.
It's very difficult to calm down at that point because it's a basic thing, right? When your emotions are triggered, so is your memory, because they both come at from your subconscious. So if you trigger memory, also emotion. Like if I tell you to think of a time you watch, when you see a movie which you had seen like when you were in college, the moment the memory is triggered, any emotion around that memory will also get triggered. Oh, उस वक्त मैं उससे बात करता था, उस समय ये होता था. Same thing goes with emotion. So when you're angry, your emotion is elevated, and so the memories will also be elevated. They both come at a subconscious level. And now you're bombarded with information that you did not have like 10 seconds ago. Now what do you do with this information? Your entire body is faster, your blood flow is faster. Now the animated body will also be more animated, and all of that will happen. And suddenly to be like, take a pause. It can't be I take a pause and go to Varun Duggi and listen to this. No, it won't be possible in that moment. But that's where mindfulness comes in picture.
Yeah.
That's why having more control over yourself. जैसे हम बोलते हैं ठहराव लाइफ में होना बहुत जरूरी है. I think this is what we talk about. Like it is for moments like these where your actual mental strength or your control over yourself will actually show, and it's very interesting.
I used to actually tell people in the office when I was at Glitch, saying that often someone wants to be the first person to react to something, even if you're in like a professional environment, you want to be the first person with the answer, but it's oftentimes the person who answers last who gives the most thought through answer, because you've heard what everybody else says and you kind of like putting that out there.
You also miss out on the fun, because now this goes back to my magic performance, you remind. So like sometimes some people would be a repeat audience and they know what's going to happen because you're watching it again, of course. So there's an audience, there's 800 people in the auditorium, so a bunch of 10 people, 20 people, whatever, who have seen either in some city or a video or something where they know कि अच्छा भी ये होने वाला है. And this one guy, I'm performing, I'm building up, मैं suspense create कर रही हूँ. Oh, we know this is going to match with that thing in the envelope.
You honor.
It's like, if you're it's very difficult to understand magic perspective in India because you're very less magician. But if you understand in a comic perspective, it's like saying the punchline before the timing. It's just ruining it all. And I feel like, to chup rahe.
Yeah.
And also he doesn't just ruin it for the magician, he also ruin it for himself. And he ruined it for 800 people sitting in there of what could the story be. And
it's like a person who gives away the climax of a movie or a book, saying, is this a book where that guy is the killer? I'm like,
that's like my brother, but okay. We're watching a web series and like, अरे इसके end में ये होता है, किसने पूछा तुझे? But yeah, some people do it for fun, but some people are just like, that's why I say difference between confidence and overconfidence. You should know that really well in your life.
How do you teach someone like that that's something they shouldn't do? Or have you not even, there's no point, just move ahead?
No, of course, I would give very good answers there. बोल दिया, खुश हो गया, मजा आया ना, बहुत मजा आया ना, बैठ जाओ. So I will have, depending on how the situation is and what they have saying, and like show करना है, mic दो, like it could be anything. Like I am somebody on stage is very different vibe. You have to, on stage, whatever I may say is very different than off stage, because on stage आपके पास एक authority है. I have a mic. I'm on stage. I have a mic in hand. 8 people have paid to watch me. I can misuse it. I can use it. I can be responsible about it. पर वहाँ पे मैं कुछ भी करूँ बहुत easy है, ठीक है. पर वो चीज़ off stage करना, वो ज़्यादा ज़रूरी हो जाता है in life. And for anybody like that in my life, I don't know how to deal with them, but I would only tell them to be more empathetic. Okay, think about what the other person would go through, or else just value your words even more. दूसरों का अगर नहीं सोच सकता, खुद की इज्जत ज़्यादा कर ले. तूने बोला तुझे क्या फ़ायदा हुआ ये बोलकर, और अगर फ़ायदा नहीं हुआ तो क्यों बोला? तेरे को इज्जत नहीं क्या अपने शब्दों की? तो अपनी इज्जत कर ले. So I think depending on the person, you know what is going to work for what person. ठीक है. I think as a mentalist, I understand that too well कि इसको इस तरह से समझाना है कि उस तरीके से समझाना है. Not as a mentalist, I think just the way I've been brought up. So it depends what works for them, you know. But it's important to point out, I feel, sometimes. But if you're your people.
I know you must be sick of being asked this question, but because you mentioned it, have people asked you saying, as a mentalist, do you understand people better? How many times have you been asked this question?
The problem is not about when people they just expect that I'll understand people better. That's even worse. That's too much pressure on me. Like with my friends sometimes, if they are upset or you know call नहीं किया उन्होंने कोई, तुझे तो पता चलना चाहिए ना मैंने कॉल क्यों नहीं किया, तूने क्यों कॉल, पर मैंने मतलब too much of pressure on me, you know, that is. So but if I have to answer that honestly, does being a mentalist help me understand people better? I 100% feel I understand people better than what I have been understanding in my own journey, because the more I learn, I understand better. Is it because I'm a mentalist, or is it because I'm just in general interested in people? I don't know. Because I know people who understand people very well being doctors. I have known people, like you understand people very well being a podcaster, being an entrepreneur yourself. How much is it related to your profession, even you don't know? Because sometimes things are like I can be a mentalist even without understanding people better. ठीक है. Because मुझे लोगों को understand करना है सिर्फ वो 2 घंटे के लिए जब मैं performance time पर, मुझे पता है वो कैसे करना है. Of course, अगर मैं generally भी अगर understand करती हूँ better लोगों को, तो मेरे performance में reflect करेगा. But वो तो आपके podcasting में भी reflect करेगा, वो किसी doctor के भी reflect करेगा, वो किसी engineer के भी reflect करेगा. So I think it's a personal trait of how you understand people better. There are of course many books you can read, many lectures you can see and hear of how you can understand people better. But I feel nothing beats experience. You know, nothing beats observing people, observing politicians giving speeches, observing product launches of how people are talking. I think that's the best way to learn observations, you know. That's how I've learned.
One thing we always ask on the show is about advice, right? Because
I think I've advised way too much already, Varun. It feels like I've been too preachy. I think
Not
I should
at
just
all.
calm
I think
down and be like, Suhani, just stop preaching people about solitude and go 10 days into silence, and what all you're doing. We'll not watch your streams if you're in 10 days of silence.
There is a term I would like to use for everything you shared on this podcast. It's that you've given actionable insights, like actual insights.
That's how I am. I mean, the thing is, I don't want to say things I wouldn't do. So practice what you preach is something like the first thing in my life, because I'm very afraid of karma. Okay, I'm staunch karma believer. It's not the rebirth wala karma, but I have a different theory around karma. So I feel like never preach what you don't practice. It's going to really mess up your life.
It'll catch up to you.
It'll catch up to you. Okay. So why do I say tangible? Because मैं उतना ही करती हूँ. उसके आगे मतलब then it's your own journey, and that's my way of learning. सेल्फ लर्निंग में हमेशा यही हुआ कि कोई मुझे आके ज्ञान दे रहा है, मैंने करना क्या है, मुझे बताओ करना क्या है, मैं कर लूँगी, यू नो. सो देन व्हेन आई रियलाइज नोबडी इज टीचिंग मी, आई एम लर्निंग माई सेल्फ. तो मुझे खुद को भी यही सवाल आता है, अच्छा ठीक है सॉलिट्यूड प्रैक्टिस करना है, कैसे, हाउ डू यू मीन बाय सॉलिट्यूड प्रैक्टिस कर, सच अ वेग स्टेटमेंट कि छोड़ दो संन्यास ले लो, मतलब क्या करूँ. सो देन पीपल टेल मी आई कांट टेक साइलेंस. तो यूजुअली व्हेन, बिकॉज आई हैव बीन अ थेरेपिस्ट, hypnotherapist, not a therapist, when they, because I've also faced these questions, like somebody will tell me कि हम एक दिन का साइलेंस नहीं ले सकते. मैं हमारा तो घर बार है भाई, धंधा वंदा, ठीक है रात के 3 घंटे का ले लें, स्टार्ट विद दैट. संडे 5 आवर्स ले लें, यू नो, मॉर्निंग 4 आवर्स अपने लिए छोड़ दें. मतलब यू कैन मेक वेज, शिफ्ट करो चीज़ें, मेक इट हैपन. तो क्योंकि मैंने ये चीज़ें बोली भी है, खुद भी करती हूँ, तो आई नो द टैंजिबिलिटी.
I was actually going to ask you saying, if you had to give the 7-year-old you advice, what would you give?
Yeah, the 7-year-old me didn't have problems.
You think it'll be the other way around? The 7-year-old you will give you advice now?
It is the other way around, because now I don't have any memory of my 7-year-old bit other than my first show. Even in my first show, I don't have much memory other than what was happening in my head before that every curtain opening. And मुझे पता था मैं ड्रेसअप होके बैक स्टेज खड़ी हूँ, I know there are important people in the audience, but I don't know who they are. Like, I don't know what there was a chief minister of Gujarat, but I didn't know what a chief minister means. I'm 7 years old. मुझे पता कुछ, पर मुझे परवाह नहीं थी, because मेरे को वो नहीं था कि मैं किसी के लिए, मेरा तो पहला शो है ना, मैं तो अपना हॉबी लिव कर रही हूँ, तो मुझे था कि I have to go straight 7 steps. I have to then take a left. I have to pick up the mic and say my first dialogue, and then I shouldn't forget my steps. Like I should go here and then मुझे सिर्फ ये याद है कि मुझे शो में नेक्स्ट स्टेप्स क्या करने हैं, कि सेकंड डायलॉग ये भूलना, लाइक एग्जाम में कैसा होता है कि फोर्थ आंसर भूलना जाए, फिर मेरा वो था कि एग्जाम दे रही हूँ मैं टू अ पॉइंट पता है एग्जाम में कभी कभी होता है यार कोई पहला वर्ड बताओ तो मैं पूरा आंसर लिख दूंगा. माई मॉम यूज्ड टू सिट इन द विंग विद माई डायलॉग्स रिटन, मैं बोलती मम्मी पहला वर्ड बताओ जल्दी, एंड शी यूज्ड टू से द फर्स्ट वन एंड मैं डायलॉग बोल जाती थी. So it was properly like that. Yeah. So when I have problems in my life today as a 32-year-old, I look at that 7-year-old is like क्या करना है, आगे 5 steps लेना है ले ले, उसके बाद right ले लेना, उसके बाद left लेना, बाकी देखा जाएगा क्या है, अब भी जो करना है वो कर ले. So whenever I'm confused today, that 7-year-old Suhani teaches me what to do. Yeah. I can't teach the 7-year-old Suhani anything, बाबा. She was उसको कोई problem नहीं थी यार, वो fearless थी, वो stage पे show कर रही है 7 साल की उम्र में, उसके आगे लोग बैठे जिसको फर्क ही नहीं पड़ रहा उसको, वो बहुत चिल्ला है यार लाइफ में. I mean, I think we need to learn from our younger selves more than teach our younger selves.
You know, I can keep talking on this podcast, but we have a thing which we do on this podcast is that we never let it go on longer than a certain period of time. So we leave something for a part 2.
Oh,
if
wow.
Whenever we do have another conversation, because we always leave conversations for parts 2 and 3. I just want to kind of close off by asking you one question, saying, which I have a feeling I know the answer because you have spoken about it. How do you take a pause?
Oh wow, suddenly. I mean, it's mostly silences. But again, what am I taking a pause from? So if a pause from my work, I'll try a new hobby. So a lot, I've done this. Every 2 years I pick up something new and I want to take a break. काम का pressure ज़्यादा हो गया. But I don't want to take a pause from my life. Like चीज़ अच्छी चल रही है. But if work stress ज़्यादा हो गया, so I learned, like once I got too stressed in work, मैंने tennis सीख लिया. उसके कुछ 2 साल बाद मुझको फिर से स्ट्रेस है, मैंने फ्लूट बजाना सीख लिया. फिर मुझे और स्ट्रेस है, मैंने ऑयल पेंटिंग करना शुरू कर दिया. तो मतलब आई लर्न समथिंग दैट आई वुड हैव नेवर टच्ड. पैंडेमिक में मैंने चेस खेलना सीख लिया, बट वो स्ट्रेस नहीं था, वो सेम मज़ा था. तो समथिंग लाइक दैट. सो इफ इट्स अ वर्क स्ट्रेस काइंड ऑफ थिंग, आई विल ट्राई टू लर्न. आई थिंक दैट्स माई वे ऑफ हैविंग फन एंड टेकिंग अ पॉज फ्रॉम, बिकॉज जब आप कुछ नया सीखते हो पूरा उसमें चला जाता है आपका दिमाग, आप सब कुछ भूल जाते हो. ये इसको बेटर करना है, और कल से बेटर शॉट्स माने, बैक हैंड और बेटर करना है. लाइक यू जस्ट गेट इनटू व्हाट यू आर डूइंग. एंड आई थिंक वी एज ह्यूमंस वी ऑल आर क्यूरियोसिटी जनरेटेड
100%
पीपल. तो जब भी कुछ नया आता है तो इतनी क्यूरियोसिटी होती है, तो वो एक अच्छा ब्रेक मिल जाता है. सो अगर मैं एवरी 3 दिन में कुछ नया सीख रही हूँ तो मेरे को फिर वर्क में भी अच्छा लगेगा. सो टेकिंग अ पॉज फ्रॉम वर्क इज न्यू हॉबी. Could be anything. Could be a sport, music instrument, could be a dance form. Like now I feel I want to take up a dance form. Like this year I think I'm finding somebody if there's anybody who can teach me. That's my thing.
Yeah.
But if it's a pause from just generally in life, and I just want to take a break, I want to calm down, I'll go into silence. I'll go like 10 days silence, 5 days silence, depending on how long it's. I might leave my place and go into silence. Like once it was too much of chaos and I went to Dharamkot, which is foothills of Himalayas, and I was in 15 days of silence there. Depends on the intensity. Okay, I want to do it here, I want to go to another place and do it, or just whatever. So, but these are my 2 things, new hobby or silence.
Thank you so much for doing this. This has been fascinating, and I'm hoping it's a conversation which you don't have to repeat too many things that you've spoken about in the past, but I think we've dwelled into so many things that are, I think, super impactful people to learn from.
I've ever spoken about such things. Everybody, दीदी को क्या हो गया है? सुषा दी, are you okay? बुखार उठा रहे हैं आपको? No, but it was a very wonderful conversation, and as I was as I was telling you that it is your vibe, Varun. You know, I think the next time I want to take a break, I'm going to call you a little bit. Like अगर मुझे दिन में break लेना है ना, तो I should call you.
Please call.
Because I think you have this vibe with you which is so calming.